Hello, welcome to the Libran full moon lunar penumbral eclipse. We are totally in the eclipse portal, and I don't know about you, but it is been pretty wild out there. Really feeling the Mars energy that we spoke about a few weeks ago, feeling the movement, and I don't know, a lot of things coming up to be the reviewed and almost feeling because we know that Mercury has now gone into its retrograde shadow. It will station retrograde on the 4th of April. So we are in that reviewing, looking at the shadows, which is such an eclipse energy. Eclipses are all about grand endings and grand beginnings. And this Libran full moon lunar eclipse is all about the grand endings because it is a south node eclipse. But let's have a look at what penumbral means. It's not a full eclipse. It's not a total eclipse. It means that the moon is in the outer shadows, the penumbral shadows of the Earth's reflection from the sun, as we know that the sun and the moon at a full, any full moon is the reflection of the sun. So we only see the light rebounding off the moon because of where the sun and the earth are positioned. And here at a full moon, so it is a full moon because the moon, the earth, and the sun are in alignment. But because the moon is falling in within the shadows, the outer shadows, the penumbral shadows of the earth shadow reflecting from the sun, we get this effect where it looks like the blackening or the darkening of the shadow of the sun reflecting back to earth. So it's not a total eclipse. We will have a total new moon, so total solar eclipse, where the moon will travel around here and go exactly in this nodal point. So the nodal points is where the shadows of the sun and the earth and the moon all connect. And it's a total solar eclipse coming up in Aries on the 9th of April. So we are in this portal, so that will be our new moon. But here we are in this full illumination, because that's what lunar full moons are all about, is full illumination, because we get to see the fullness of the moon. But there's something here that's hidden in the shadow of the earth. So, and it feels like this portal. I mean, that's what nodes are about. This nodal points are portals from the past or the future. It depends whether it's a south node or a north node. Let's bring up the chart so we can have a look. And I'll stop share and bring up our chart for this full moon eclipse. Okay. So here we have it. Here is the chart of this lunar full moon penumbral eclipse falling at 5 degrees of Libra. So happening today. Today is the 25th of March, and boy, things are moving fast. End of March already. So as we can see that the sun has already moved into Aries, which was the equinox. So the equinox's points is this axis between Aries and Libra. Aries is the ram that wants to get going. It's the start of the zodiac. Let's go, leadership, but following your intuition to move forward. It's this cardinal fire. And opposite to that, this push-pull, because that's what oppositions are about. Anytime there's an opposition where the sun and the moon are opposite. So there's this push-pull energy, which you're probably feeling, this pull from the stories of the old south node in Libra, wanting to break free, wanting to start something new. But at first, we've got to do some attending. We've got to do some clipping away, remove emotional bodies, just feeling this emotional body coming up, going, what stories do we need to release here? at this full moon. And usually full moon's about a full illumination of something that happened at the start of the new moon. So thinking back into the Pisces new moon, that was back in 10th of March. This is the full illumination of that, but there's something else here because the eclipse, there's something hidden that we can't quite see, it's like someone, we've walked in from full illumination to a bright room into a dark room, and we have to sort of tap into something different here, different senses that we wouldn't normally use to be able to navigate our way through this temporary darkness that we find ourselves in. And, I'm just thinking of this portal that's been stirring around, this eclipse portal. And if, following the eclipses, as we know that wherever the eclipses are falling in our chart, there are always these changes that are happening in these areas of our life. And so have a look where Libra is falling for you. Libra, it's, Libra is, let's talk about Libra. Libra is the representative of the scales. It's like justice and fairness and the balance, but also it's relationships. It's ruled by Venus. This eclipse is ruled by Venus, which is beautiful. But, what kind of state is Venus in? I mean, if we have a look where Venus is at right now, she's just had a conversation, this conjunction with Saturn. Saturn is the reality check. It's the elder just going, well, is this really what you want? Venus loves it in Pisces. Like, she loves it here. She can really just step into her dreamscape of what beauty and, I can just feel this ease and gentleness of expansion in Pisces with Venus. But she's come up against Saturn, who is, who wants us to check to see if we're doing it properly and, that it's grounded and that we've got discipline behind it, or, there are things that need to be cut away. Remember that Saturn here, Saturn, this is matter, the cross and matter is above the sickle. The sickle is, that holds Saturn, that cuts away as well. So there's certainly a boundary here that, Venus has had this conversation and now she's moving on, but it's still playing out. She's changed here. Something's happened in, the past few days since Friday, which is when this conjunction happened. They're going, right, what needs to happen now? And there's something's changed. I'm feeling this change that's happened with this Venus. And it's interesting that this Venus energy is the ruler of this eclipse. So what do we know now that we didn't know like this time last weekend, that needs now to be cut away and sent off into I'm just thinking of this portal just being sucked away from this south node, just like what needs to change now? This full moon eclipse, it's like, well, what in terms of relationship, in terms of bringing justice to the scales of, and thinking of, justice, justice card. I did have the justice card here to show you, what is justice? Like, this is what, this tarot card, Justice Tarot, is the ruler of Libra, and look at her, she's like cosmic law. She's law of the earth, not just human law, but cosmic law, finding the balance of the scales. And look, she's got the sword. Libra is of air. It's cardinal air. It's the start of something. It's the start of a thought pattern. It's the start of, and let's go back to that start of the thought pattern, because it feels like that, cutting away the thought patterns of the original point of something that needs to be let go of, an old story. What is the original if you get down to the details, what is the original thought pattern or story that created something that you need to let go, that was shown to you this week when this Saturn and when this Venus had a conversation with Saturn? So just thinking of that cosmic law. And, cardinal air, yeah, that start of something. And then when the new moon comes, in on the 9th of April, we're going to be changed again, because what we're going to do, what we're going to have, if we just clear all these drawings, is we're going to have this Mars bumping against Saturn just after that new moon. So, with Mars energy, fire, cardinal fire versus cardinal air, it's like the spark and the wind, just, and what does that happen? Fire takes off. But, is it grounded, Saturn's saying? Is it, what do we need? Do we have the right equipment? It's this thing about this volatility that's happening right now. And if you look at the chart, there's actually not much Earth happening. We've got this Jupiter and Uranus conjunction coming closer and closer. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and Uranus, like sudden changes, and it's not steady. In Taurus, which you would look to for steadiness, fixed Earth, it's just not there. It's just not here in this chart. It's all just fire, water, but it's like mist, because it's Pisces, it's unbounded water, with air. And Black Moon Lilith here in Virgo, but Black Moon Lilith, she's not overly stable either. She's cutting shit away. She's cutting things away to grow. And the fierce dark feminine's going, no, we don't need this anymore. Cut it away. So I just feel this instability of these times, and just feeling, everything sort of shaking and moving, and not finding much to grip onto. And I guess when at these times like these these moments when it all feels really unstable, is to come back into the center of the chart. This is where our earthly body is, and everything works around us. And can we find this? Can we hold this center when all the things are shifting and changing? Yeah, it's just feeling that wobbliness of how easy we can sort of be spun off into one of the nodal points, or, just yeah, it just feels unstable. Just feels unstable. And I guess Libra, when we come back to that, here you and I are, like, relationship, Libra is, can we come together as one? And Libra is the ruler of the endocrine system. It's the hormones, the things that get happening. And if you and I come together, we can make babies because our hormones work properly. And it's also the rule of the kidneys. And I'm just thinking there's two kidneys, but they all channel into one. And so this feeling of, can we come back? How far do we go out into the cosmos to think of the cosmic law, and to look back down and say, well, actually, we are all one. So just feeling that as well. It feels like if you're trying to find grounding here, is actually to go out further and to look at it from that witness perspective. Otherwise, I feel like you could just get caught in the crossroads of all that. Look, we've got, this, yeah, we've got Jupiter here making this quincunx, this 150-degree point between Jupiter and the South Node. That's like awkward turtle, like it's just like sing out to Tash there, just feeling that, yeah, this something that's hidden again by the eclipse point that we can't quite sense, and that we actually got to tap into something else that maybe we're not used to tapping into, another sense. Maybe it's like a kinetic sense if you're a visual person, or using your auditorial sense if if you're a kinesthetic person, tapping into something that you're not quite used to. But I think that's where you're going to find your information, is really feeling this awkwardness, but the darkness, the hidden darkness of the eclipses can, just really having to think in another angle, in another way, just thinking of that, quincunx is like that blind spot where you have to sort of look, in a different position, that it's not quite comfortable, but it will give us a lot of information. Okay, so all right. Mercury in its retrograde shadow zone. So, it's reached a point, and it will, so we're in this review point anyway. So even though that Mercury hasn't gone in retrograde yet, which it will on the 2nd of April, so next week, there's something here that we're going to have to come back to this information. We're going to have to come back, from what's arising now for it to be reviewed, because it will be during the retrograde. So at this point where it is 23 degrees in Aries, it's going to come back here, and it's going to station retrograde, and then it's going to come back over this 23-degree point. And so whatever's happening now, this is not the end of the story. It's a piece of information that we're taking with us, and I feel like this is going to continue on until, into April. As we know, we always knew that April was going to be like pretty wild, and we're seeing this now, and we're in it. And let's look forward to May, because it feels like things will settle down a little bit. But end of March, April was always going to be wild. And again, come back to yourself, come back to your, thinking of that air sign too. The next air sign after Libra is Aquarius, where Pluto is. So things are changing, and this is a trine. There's, it's a loose trine, but it's a trine nonetheless. 1 degree of Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, the what it feels like, the wave of consciousness, Aquarius, air sign, fixed air, electricity moving through. And PS, we've just had a couple of massive solar flares or solar storms push towards the Earth, and that's going to be hitting the Earth during this eclipse. So lots of new buzziness in the air. Again, I can almost feel it in my body. It's like a coffee. Ooh, there's not much stability going on here. And this is a cardinal air. Again, it's just like the first breath out, and where does it go? Like, what are you going to do with that breath of air? Yeah, woof, just feeling all that. Okay. What else did I want to talk about? Okay. I think that's really it. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, as this Jupiter and Uranus get closer together, and it's happening, like we're really starting to come in the zone of that, and that's just going to get stronger and stronger over the next few weeks. I think this next new moon in Aries coming up on the 9th of April, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens and what happens with the world, because, you're going to have this Mars energy with Saturn. Mars wants to go, wants action, but in Pisces now, it's just like, wow, unbounded action. Like, what happens? Unbounded Mars. It feels like it's just very erratic. It doesn't have any grounding. Again, no grounding in mist, is there? Like, what is fire? What does fire do in mist? I don't know. It feels a bit crazy to me. But then there's Saturn here just going, stop. No, cut that away. Stop doing that. Outer. Yeah, it feels like, I don't think Mars is very happy here, and it feels very volatile. I think that's what I'm feeling as I'm speaking, volatility. But then we've got this, Jupiter expansion with Uranus, which in itself would be great, expansion of the changes, but we've got to be prepared for whatever changes come, whether we like it or not. So, and in a Mercury, all happening within a Mercury retrograde. So Yeah, I think this is a time to hang on to your hats. And I just wanted to point out how interesting that traditionally in, eclipses, back in the days, like medieval days, that, they would always put the king and the queen or the heads of state away, locked away, so they would be safe. And look what's happening at the moment to our head of state from Australia, the king, the royal family of Britain, what's happening there, their heads of state. And it'd be interesting to see what happens to governments over the next, month or so too, because I think this something new, Aries, but you can't just go around with an adolescent, patriarchal brain or, mindset, which is Mars, maybe not always patriarchal, but certainly a young sort of masculine energy of wanting to move forward without really thinking, hitting against the elder of the cosmos and Pisces, so what is that going to happen? We do have this lovely aspect coming up too, which feels like a balm to the heart with Venus and Neptune conjunction, and that is happening on the 4th. So just after the Mercury stations retrograde, this happens, and this feels lovely. If anything, this feels like a balm of the heart and the chaos of all around us, with all the fire and the air energy, and coming back into the personal love with the cosmic love together at the last degrees of Pisces. And let's finish up there, because that feels so freaking beautiful, of coming and dreaming the good dreams. So in all this, if you're finding stability, you're not really going to find it, but keep dreaming the dreams of love, keep dreaming the dreams of love. And as this, Neptune and the Venus catches up with Neptune, and she sits there, and she just, it just feels like a day of dreaming, dreaming on the 4th of April. So put that in your calendar as a balm to the heart. And, after she's had a chat with Saturn, it's like discipline of the love and bringing the love forward in preparation for this upcoming new moon in Aries. Whoa, okay. Stay grounded as much as you can out there. This is a wild time. We always knew it was going to be. And yeah, just listening, letting go. What doesn't serve you, let it go under this full illumination of the eclipse, in the portal, tapping into your senses, getting ready for something new, really new, in this new moon coming up next in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks' time. Okay, much love. Bye.